What's up, guys? In today's video we're going to be talking about Tilray Stock, another cannabis stock that I've been watching lately. So I just wanted to talk about Tilray Stock. I made a video earlier about Aurora Cannabis. You guys can check that out. I put a link to that in the description. So the second stock I'm going to be covering in the cannabis industry is Tilray Stock. And I'm going to talk a bit more about what I think Tilray Stock will do in 2020 and beyond, and whether or not you should buy shares. If you already have them, you should hold on to them, or if this is a sell. But before I go into Tilray Stock, guys, I wanted to tell you to please smash that subscribe button and support my channel, because I'm going to be posting more videos in the future on more cannabis stocks and different industries, especially the industry transitions that we're experiencing with things like streaming, TV, cannabis stocks, and electric vehicles. So just smash that subscribe button so you guys stay notified when I post future videos. So what's going on with Tilray Stock? So Tilray Stock is actually one of the biggest cannabis stocks out there, if you guys aren't really familiar with it. Tilray engages in research, cultivation, production, distribution of medical cannabis and cannabinoids. The company is focused on medical cannabis research, cultivation, processing, distributing cannabis products worldwide. The CEO is Brandon Kennedy, and the market cap is up $1.6 billion. So why am I interested in Tilray Stock? Well, as you know, Aurora Cannabis is the most popular stock traded on Robinhood, and it's one of the cheapest ones. It's around $2. So because of that share price, a lot of people are interested in that stock, but there is massive dilution. So that's one of the reasons why the share price has been tanking. Well, one of the things I like about Tilray is there isn't that massive dilution. So if you guys take a look at the shares outstanding, I can show you guys real quick here on Macro Trends. Once again, macrotrends.net, a great website that I use all the time. You just show those, not only dealing with 98 here. So we don't have nearly as much dilution as we do with Aurora Cannabis, more to me, because I realized that if the shares outstanding, it's not a great chance moving up massively, as we saw with Tesla. A good person would be simply Tesla and Ford, right? So Tesla doesn't have that many shares outstanding as Ford. It moves much more aggressively because it's simply supply demand. There's fewer shares available. So one of the things I like about Tilray is that there aren't as many shares outstanding. Is that a nice plus? The second plus I like is that the stock is currently trading under the IPO price. So here's an article posted last month, and on Business Insider it says Tilray shares briefly dipped below their IPO price for the first time ever. So as you can see here, Tilray shares briefly fell below $17 per share. So the company IPO'd at $17 per share, and now it is trading currently at $16 as of recording this video. So anytime a company stock is dipping below the IPO price, I'm very interested. And we've experienced a massive slide in share price. So the stock is down about 77% this year, which is a massive dip so far. So for me, the stock is on sale. So that's another reason that I really like it. So before I talk more about kind of the company itself, I just want to go straight into the numbers, because the numbers kind of give us a good indication of where the company is currently headed. So if we just simply go into the latest quarterly report, guys, I really like looking at quarterly reports because the numbers are straight from the CEO, who knows more about the business than anybody else. So one of the things that jumped out to me most was simply that revenue increased 409% to $51 million in third quarter 2019 compared to prior year. International medical revenue grew more than fivefold compared to the last year. So guys, we're seriously in a serious growth phase for these companies. These companies are just new. There's a lot of regulatory problems. And as you can see in the United States, Illinois just legalized cannabis. So it's a slow process that we're going to see as state by state in the United States. And my prediction is that all 50 states, all 50 states in the United States will be legalized marijuana in the future. It's just a matter of time. So it's a slow, steady process. You know, this isn't going to happen overnight. You're not going to see marijuana legalized 100% in the U.S. overnight. It's just a slow process, and slowly but surely, states are kind of realizing that this is the future of the industry, and instead of criminalizing it, it's better to tax it and allow people to use it, because it is a plant that grows on Earth. So let's just read some of the key information from the latest quarterly report. So he says, our performance in the third quarter, including solid revenue growth and sequential gross margin expansion, reflects the positive business trends we have underway. Brendan Kennedy, we're in the early days of seeing our strategic initiatives bear fruit, including our European expansion, brand portfolio evolution, strategic partnership, product launches. We continue to expect significant growth in fourth quarter and heading on to 2020. So here are kind of some of the huge things that I want to pop out. Revenue 400%. This is a massive, massive jump in revenue. And if we come down here to some of the numbers, we can see this massive number right here. If you guys can see that, they've experienced a 500% year-over-year growth in the third quarter. So that medical marijuana revenue is absolutely exploding. And as we can see here, we can take a look at some of the raw numbers. If you look at it over the 9 months, that's up a ton. So that's where I think a lot of the growth in Tilray is going to come. They're really at heart, yes, they do sell a bit for adult use, but at the heart, I think they're a medical company. And even though that's not the bulk of their revenue currently, I think that's going to be the majority of their revenue in the long run. So I think whereas Aurora is more of like a commercial type company selling to the consumer, I think Tilray is more so on the medicinal side, and especially with international growth. So that's where I think a lot of their growth is going to be. But once again, we have to wait for the United States to legalize it, all 50 states, for us to see some growth there. So let's just talk a bit more about some of the numbers here. One of the things that popped out to me in this report, total kilogram equivalent sold increased 6-fold, over 10,000 kilos sold compared to only 1,600 kilos in the prior year before. Now the selling price has decreased, so that's going to shift. Basically, they're selling different products and things like that. And also, I think over the long term, I think the price of cannabis is going to come down a lot, because once you start flooding the market with it, these companies are going to start pumping out, hundreds of thousands of kilos every 3 months, every quarter. I just think the price is going to come down naturally, but that's okay because they're going to do well on volume. So let's just take a look at some of the more business highlights. They made a couple acquisitions. They acquired 420 Investments, an adult cannabis retail operator in Alberta, and they've been expanding. They added an additional 20 hectares, 50 acres of outdoor cultivation space in Portugal. So they're well positioned all over the globe. And then here's another one, Fluent Beverage Company, a joint venture between Anheuser-Busch and Tilray. Now plans to distribute CBD beverages. So that's another one I wanted to talk about, guys. CBD beverages are going to be an explosive growth industry in this decade. I've never actually tried one myself, but I've talked to people and I've read reviews online, and people say it really relaxes you. So this is kind of, I think, an alternative product, because personally, me, I don't smoke. I'm not a smoker at all, but I think a beverage is something that I would most likely be interested in, because with the CBD beverage, it's supposed to relax you and it's supposed to be really calming. And there's been tons of studies that talk about the benefits of CBD oil, and it's not actually something that you have to consume through your lungs. So they've just been doing a lot of growth, just picking up companies, making acquisitions. And one of the things I like about Tilray is that I think the company is really, really well run. So let's just quickly talk about some of the leadership that's running Tilray. So most importantly, I want us to talk about the CEO of. So for me personally, I like to see smart CEOs running the company. These guys, they have a lot of influence over where the direction of company goes, and we've seen brilliant CEOs like Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. I mean, a powerful, smart CEO is very, very, very essential to the long-term success of a company. So Brendan Kennedy, pretty good background record. He's been serving as the CEO of Tilray since 2013. He graduated from Berkeley, has a bachelor's degree in Berkeley, and has an MBA from Yale. So this guy's a pretty smart guy. I think he's done a great job with Tilray. And most of these cannabis stocks have been crushed in 2019 simply because people were basically pricing these stocks at where they're going to be in the future instead of where they are right now. And these companies really aren't generating that much sales to justify their enormous share prices. But I want to show you guys some interesting insider activity that I noticed. So insider activity is one of the things that I track heavily before buying a stock, because simply is because simply I want to see what the insiders are doing with their money. So they know the company more than anybody else. They know it better than you. They know it better than me. And if they're interested in buying shares, that definitely gets my attention, because there's obviously, for them, they know the true intrinsic value of the company, so they're able to determine whether the shares are undervalued or not. So as we can see, over the last 3 months, there's been an enormous 9 million shares bought and only 140,000 shares sold. So a net activity of acquiring 9 million shares. And most importantly, I'm looking for officers and directors, but I'm looking at the CEOs. So as we can see here, Brandon Kennedy has been basically racking up a massive position in the company. As we can see here, did sell a few shares here, but for most of the activity has been buying. On December 12th, he picked up a bunch of shares, and he made a massive acquisition, actually really increased his stake. Picked up some, this was a direct purchase, so picked up a ton of shares. So now he has 4.6 million shares as of this latest posting. So he just increased his stake massively in the company. So that to me is a very, very bullish signal. That's what I like to see, because before he didn't have much of a stake. As you can see here, he only had 100,000 shares, and then he massively picked up 4.5 million shares. So for me, that's a bullish signal, and I think he realizes that, like most people, these stocks have been beaten down so much that they're getting just stupidly cheap. And for an industry where companies are experiencing 400% quarterly revenue growth year over year, for the stocks to be beaten down 80 and 90%, it just seems like it might be going a bit too far. So guys, so this is one of the reasons why I'm really, really interested in Tilray stock as of now. So now I want to talk about the company itself and a couple of things that you guys can check out. You can simply head over to their website. The website is tilray.com. You guys can check it out. Some very interesting stuff here, and you guys can take a look at some of the pictures on their website. They talk about how they're growing, their laboratory, and things like that. Lots of interesting stuff. And for someone like me, you guys, I'm relatively new to the industry as well. The bulk of the research I've been doing in the past was on Aurora, and now I'm heavily looking into Tilray. But I really think that there are benefits to medicinal, and I think hospitals and things like that, medical clinics, are going to be huge buyers of cannabis in the future. So here's something else that I like. I'd like that the company is diversified internationally. So of course, the bulk of their activity is going to be in North America. They have different facilities all over the world, in Latin America, South Africa, Europe, and Oceania as well. Not a lot of expansion in Asia. Asia has a lot of strict laws on cannabis use, so we'll wait to see what's going on there. But what I like to see is, this company's led by a very capable management team, got a nice board of directors, and a nice medical advisory board as well, an international advisory board as well. So this company is well positioned to do well in the long term, and I think for me, it's not a matter of which cannabis stock I'm going to buy. It's the same thing I feel about the streaming wars. I think all the companies will benefit. Now, obviously, a few of them aren't going to make it. There's going to be some acquisitions in the future. But I think if you just do your research and you pick a couple of these stocks, Aurora Cannabis, you've got Tilray, Cannabis Growth. I think if you just do your research and you just follow the revenue growth, because there's not going to be a lot of earnings because the industry is so young, but as long as the revenue growth and the kilograms produced and sold, I think those are the two most important numbers, because as long as they're continuing to sell and produce more kilos, that's going to be a good sign of the health of the company, as long as that number is increasing. So guys, that's it for now. What is my thoughts on what you can do with Tilray? Well, there's a couple of things that I'm thinking about doing right now. For me, I like that it's trading under its IPO price, so I'm very interested in acquiring a share. I already have a stake in Aurora Cannabis, so that's my full disclosure. I'll let you guys know if I own a stock or not. I currently do not own a stake in Tilray, but I expect that to change next week when the market opens back up. I plan to build a stake in this company. I really like it. My two favorite ones are Aurora Cannabis and Tilray, so those are probably the two I'm going to be owning the majority of my stake in. But guys, there's a couple ways you can do this. So if you think maybe you don't have a lot of money to invest in Tilray, you can buy the stock options. Long-term call options are a wonderful way to control a lot of shares for a small amount of money, that's an option that you guys can take a look into. And also, you know, you can build a position slowly over time. So if you don't have a lot of money, you can try buying fractional shares through something like Stash App or M1 Finance. So you guys can find those links in the description below this video if you guys are interested in partial shares. In 2020, there's never going to be a time, I think, where you can't really invest. Fractional share investing has opened up a ton, and as you can see here on Robinhood, I'm on the waiting list, so I'm going to be on Robinhood's fractional share. So now it's a matter of just taking action and buying what you can afford. So if you can afford some full shares, get full shares. If you can only afford $5 a week or $10 a week, something, but just building that habit is the most important thing, because we're going to see an explosive growth in cannabis stocks well into the future. I mean, it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. So this is the time to get in. I think these stocks are well beaten down and they're so cheap. And yes, they could dip a bit lower, but anytime it's below the IPO price, I'm interested, because in the long run, we've seen companies like Amazon, Google, you know, Apple, they all IPO, and once the company does phenomenal, they finish well above their IPO price. And that's after lots of stock splits like Netflix and Apple stock splits and things like that. So guys, so that's it for this video. I'm going to be making more videos on Tilray, but I'm just waiting for the next quarterly report to come out. So let me know what you guys think about Tilray stock. Do you think it's a buy, or are you selling shares? Are you more interested in Aurora Cannabis? Which is your favorite cannabis stock? I'd like to know. Just leave your comments below and I'll take a look at them and be sure to reply when I can. So that's it for now, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that subscribe button. It really helps me create more content for you guys and figure out what you want to watch videos on. And give me a thumbs up if you like this video. So that's it for now, guys. Take care.